I want to just extend again our deep condolences to those family members, loved ones of those lives lost over the last 24 hours. I began yesterday's press conference by making a point that yesterday we had the highest total number of deaths since this disease began here in the state of California, 71 deaths yesterday. Today we recorded 63 deaths, some 821 families, again, every number, not a statistic, but a life being torn asunder. And I just want to extend my heartfelt condolences and also extend appreciation for not only those loved ones and the families impacted, but I had the privilege yesterday of talking to over 150 faith leaders from every conceivable part of this state. And one common thread was how one deals with grief at this time, particularly the loss of a life, and how one organizes funeral services and all the logistical challenges that in the best of the times are difficult, but at this moment are made even more challenging. And so, again, I just felt important to begin by recognizing the totality of the crisis that's still at hand, not only here in the state of California, but all throughout the nation. Our numbers yesterday were the highest recorded, but so were the nation's. And so by no stretch of the imagination are we out of the woods, despite the fact that we put forward a framework yesterday to begin to consider the prospects of reopening certain sectors of our economy. I want folks to know we need to maintain our vigilance, and we need to maintain the path that we are on, a path that is producing results. But again, we are not yet in a place where we need to be so that we could start reopening. That said, people are not where they were just a few weeks ago as it relates to unemployment claims. Just in the last 4 weeks, 2.7 million Californians have formally filed for unemployment insurance. We are in the process right now of dealing with an unprecedented number of people making phone calls into our EDD department, our Employment Development Department. We are trying to process these applications, and we're trying to turn around those applications in real time. We're doing so not only for employees, but independent contractors, for small business men and women, people that are self-employed. And I want to tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. But I want to first just begin by saying this. I just signed an executive order that will extend our call center so that we can meet the volumes of inquiry. We'll extend it from the hours of 8 in the morning till 8 in the evening, 7 days a week. A few days back, I commented that the EDD department had a call center since 2013 that was operating from 8 a.m. to noon, just 5 days a week. That was when we had record low unemployment. And just like that, now 2.7 million people claiming now the need for unemployment insurance in just over 1 month. So now record number of call volumes. I want to just thank our partners, particularly at SEIU 1000 and the incredible workforce that has been redeployed to meet that demand. 740 individuals within EDD have repositioned themselves, gotten trained, and are now redeployed in a position to address the call volume, but moreover, to be able to answer those calls and give you quality information. 600 additional state employees are being redeployed between now and Monday to do the same. So in total, 1,340 individuals now will be redirected and will start the process of helping you process your earned benefits. And so I just want to applaud Julie Sue, who will speak in a moment, her Department of Labor, and the incredible partnership that she has formed within her agency, and all the men and women that went and did above and beyond work just on Easter as a proof point and specific example. We thought it was appropriate, considering the burnout and the volume, that we gave people a little time off on Easter Sunday. 500 of those state employees refused that time off because they cared more about you than they did themselves. And so while many of us may have spent time with our families, they did not. And in turn, they were able to process a couple 100,000 distributions just on Easter Sunday to help people most in need in the state of California. So if you ever have any doubt about the value of public employees, I hope you'll consider just that example. Rather than stepping aside, they stepped in and they took the time to consider other people first, not just themselves. When they deserved that time off, they didn't take that time off. And so I just want to applaud all of those that did heroic work on Easter Sunday and continue to do heroic work every single day to process what looks like 1 million or so payments now a week. Those numbers we hope will get even greater, even higher rather, in the next few weeks. But that's the current processing, a couple 100,000 checks on a day that we're able to turn around through these efforts and other efforts that have been put into place at EDD. So that's an update specifically on unemployment insurance. And by the way, those checks are retroactive in many cases, particularly as it relates to the $600 per week additional check that are being received from the federal government stimulus support. And so people should look forward to getting those checks. By the way, they're not really checks, they're debit cards in the mail, and see those debit cards transferred into their possession in very short order. As I said, there's 1.5 million that are self-employed, 1.5 million small business men and women, individuals that have no other employees that are also deserving of direct assistance. The federal government created a program called PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. That PUA program we are now setting up in the state of California. And we're doing so in a very methodical and thoughtful way. Instead of just putting out applications and having people wait weeks and weeks and weeks for eligibility and for notification around the distribution of payments, we are organizing a very deliberative process in real time to set up our PUA system in a way where we can turn around checks within 24 to 48 hours. I'll ask Julie Sue to come up in a moment and talk a little bit more specifically about that. But I want to make this point about the PUA process. This is not a way to avoid misclassification. The state of California prides itself on being a national leader as it relates to protecting our workers from misclassification. And it is not a way of protecting those in platform economy, the gig economy, from not providing wage data to the state of California. They must provide that wage data for the state of California. If we were in receipt of that data, we would use the traditional lines of unemployment insurance, but not all of those employers are paying into the unemployment insurance process, and that's indeed why the state of California advanced what is well known within the state, a decision where we codified through AB 5, a bill that I signed, the Dynamex decision on relationship to this issue, where the state Supreme Court unanimously adjudicated in favor of addressing these misclassifications. So I just want folks to know that their status, even if they choose the PUA process, is not at peril in terms of their benefits and the ultimate determination of their classification. I just want to make that crystal clear, nor does it push us backwards in terms of advancing the cause of righting those wrongs and continuing to transition and implementation of AB 5 itself. Again, I'll ask Julie Sue in just 1 second to talk more about that as well. One final thing, I'm a fan of employment insurance. This is something, when I was a former mayor of San Francisco during the Great Recession, we were able to work with Speaker Nancy Pelosi to get a pilot through the federal appropriations to put together an employment insurance, not just an unemployment insurance program. It's commonly referred to across the country as a work share program. The state of California has a modest work share program. We want to advance that program. We want to expand it significantly, get more employers into that program. I signed an executive order on that as well today to significantly increase the time to application, the time to the creation and development of those programs. And I don't want to moralize this. I don't want to get into a national frame right now, but I can just say this. I think one of the most significant things we can do in the United States of America is reimagine our unemployment system and do more of what you're seeing in countries like Germany and elsewhere doing, and that's provide the employment insurance so people can stay in their status, their benefits included, even with reduced hours in an economy even as acute and challenging as ours today. The federal government did a version of this in the CARES Act as relates to that Paycheck Protection Program. It's a variant, but I think the opportunity to do this at scale avails itself, certainly at a national frame, but also to begin anew to think about how we can scale that program, our WorkShare program, in the state of California. So that was the purpose of the executive order. Extend those hours 8 to 8 starting Monday, extend our ability to process even more checks, encourage people to fill out the unemployment insurance forms, let self-employed individual contractors know of the availability now of our PUA program, and let folks know that that status as it relates to that determination of your classification as an employer or an independent contractor will not be impacted by the creation of that program. With that, let me ask Julie Su to come in and fill in some of the blanks.
Thank you so much, Governor. I just wanted to acknowledge that there is frustration in California over unemployment insurance benefits, and the governor's executive order today is going to allow us to open up the hours of our call center so that those of you who are seeking a live person to talk to get help will be able to do that much more easily. We will be 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. beginning Monday. Also, on the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, or PUA, we will be launching that application on April 28th. So in roughly 2 weeks, the application will be up. It will apply to those who are self-employed, those who are independent contractors, also to employees whose wage data is not sufficient, their work history is not sufficient to qualify for unemployment insurance, and to others who have exhausted their unemployment insurance benefits. So once you apply on April 28th, you will be able to certify the next day, and we are going to be turning around payments within 24 to 48 hours. So those first payments should be out by April 30th. I know many of you have been waiting for that. I want to reiterate the governor's point that once payments begin, they are retroactive. The program begins in terms of when you can receive money if you were unemployed due to COVID-19 as of the first week of February. So the checks, the payments that you receive, the benefits will go all the way back to that first week of February if you can attest that you were affected by COVID-19 as of that time. In addition, the $600 per week on top of the regular unemployment insurance benefits will also apply to PUA starting on March 29th. So again, when our applications go up in a couple of weeks, that money will also be retroactive. I'll just add one last thing. There's been a lot of conversation about the technology limits here in California. Our technology limits do not make it inevitable that we will not be able to provide services, and so we're continuing to pay unemployment insurance benefits within the 3-week time frame that was true before this pandemic.
Thank you. We're very proud of our Labor Secretary, and she'll, of course, avail herself to any question. But that last point she made, I think, is a really important point. We had a 21-day processing of unemployment insurance claims before this pandemic, and we're still within that window in terms of her capacity and her team's capacity to turn around those payments. And I just want to applaud her for her capacity to surge those efforts. She started intentionally by not focusing on the call center as much as processing the claims, because we really wanted to prioritize getting checks out as quickly as possible. And now we are at a position where we can do that and expand the call center and address the volume and needs as well. So all of this an iterative process, all of this building on the efforts that are built from the previous day, and correcting and addressing and adjusting our efforts in real time.